Hello and welcome to another Green-Eyed Guide quick review. This is my bulldog, Gjalla, and I am food scientist Green-Eyed Guide. I spent 10 years researching energy drinks and their ingredients in grad school and undergrad, and this is my book here. But today we're going to talk about Bang Energy. We're going to do a quick review and talk about who it's for based on ingredient preferences. We're going to talk about what's in it in terms of key ingredients, and we're going to talk about when to consume based on the amount of caffeine and based on your level of fatigue. So let's dive right in. So who this is for. So it's displayed pretty prominently on this can that there are no total carbs, there's no sugars, there's no calories, and there's no artificial colors. So if that appeals to you, this might be for you. However, you should note that while there are no artificial colors, there are some artificial flavors. While there are no sugars per can, there are some sweeteners like sucralose and ACE-K. So take note, if you're trying to avoid those things, then you should consider whether this is right for you. And of utmost importance, there are 300 milligrams of caffeine in this can. Now, the most you should have in one day, according to several regulatory bodies, not just in the US, but in other countries, 400 milligrams is the max you should have per day. And this has 300 milligrams. So this is 3/4 of what you're allowed to have in a day. Furthermore, the most you should have in one sitting or in one period is 200 milligrams. So if you had this whole can in one sitting, that would be 1.5 times what you're supposed to have. So really keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're a minor, if you're sensitive to caffeine, if you are pregnant or nursing, if you have medical conditions in which you should watch out for caffeine, and as I like how they point this out on this can here, if you're consuming caffeine from any other sources, this product is not for you. So now that we've talked about who this is for based on ingredients you're looking to avoid, let's talk about the key ingredients. So as they're indicated across the top of this can, the key ingredients are super creatine, ultra CoQ10, and BCAA aminos. So let's talk about those in order. So super creatine, by the way, is supposed to have the same benefits as creatine, but let me first talk about why it says super. So this is a patented ingredient, and if you patent it, if you create it, then you're allowed to name it. So super creatine is a patented form of creatine that is stable in an aqueous solution. So normally, Gjalla, pay attention, this is important. Normally, creatine is in a powder form, and it's really hard to keep it soluble. So what they've done is they've protected creatine with an amide, which makes it soluble. We can get into the chemistry more on GreenEyedGuide.com, but suffice to say, this is just creatine with the same benefits as creatine, but it's protected, or it's built in a way to make it more soluble in a liquid solution. So now let's talk about CoQ10. And I don't really remember what CoQ10 is supposed to do, so I'm going to pull up my trusty little guide here, Advanced Nutrition and Human Metabolism. So let's see what it has to say about CoQ10. Coenzyme Q10. So blah, 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 blah. Supplementation with CoQ10 longer than 4 weeks has been purported to provide benefits for the long-term endurance athlete. This benefit has not been shown conclusively, however. So it's interesting, unless you're Gjalla and you don't find this interesting at all. It's interesting to have this in an energy drink because it might help the long-term endurance athlete, but that's not entirely proven. Now let's look at some other key ingredients in here, the branched chain amino acids. And I just got to point out something that bothers me. So this says BCAA aminos, which is annoying because BCAA stands for branched chain amino acid. So this says branch chain amino acid aminos, which is superfluous and redundant and unnecessary and repetitive. And I think you get my point. But branch chain amino acids are a very popular ingredient in supplements. Branch chain amino acids are supposed to help with muscle fatigue. So let me read again from my handy dandy little book. Branch chain amino acids are also used by muscle for energy near the end of very long endurance events. So kind of like the CoQ10, if you're a long-term endurance athlete, like if you're a marathon runner, both these ingredients can help you. We talked about who it's for based on ingredients you're trying to avoid. We've talked about what's in this in terms of key ingredients. And finally, we're going to talk about when you should consume this. So again, like I said, there's 300 milligrams of caffeine in here. So this is definitely a fatigue level 4. Remember, fatigue level 5 is when you have been awake for so many hours that there's nothing you can do except for go to sleep. The reason I developed my 5 levels of fatigue in this book right here is that you really don't want to reach for the strongest caffeinated beverage when you're tired because you're bored, or when you're tired because you're dehydrated, or when you're tired because it's 8 a.m. and you've got OChem. You really want to save the strong products like this for when you absolutely need it. If you reach for something like this all the time, then it's going to come to a point in your life where caffeine doesn't work anymore. And that is not a good situation to be. So you always want to match the amount of caffeine in the beverage that you consume with how tired you are, and thus how much caffeine you really need to get you through that period. So that's how the 5 levels of fatigue works. This is fatigue level 4, so I would save this for when you absolutely need it. That said, that is the end of our quick review. Gjalla is already, done with all of this. So it's time we should wrap up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any drinks that you would like for us to review next, please let me know in the comments below this video. Please check out my other energy drinks and my more in-depth articles on some healthy alternatives to energy drinks. I call them energy drinks in disguise. You can also check out the more in-depth articles of the energy drink ingredients that I review, where I'll give you a lot more of the science. Gyalla's had enough, so I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you again for watching. Please check out GreenEyedGuide and have a wonderful day.